Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about essay prompt number 3. So I want to focus on the 20th anniversary of the Beijing conference and different ways of how women empower others and how important women are in politics. I also want to touch on different ways to get women involved in politics. And finally, I'm going to end it with how women kind of are not all there yet. And one reason as to why women aren't equal to men. So first, I want to discuss the Beijing 20th anniversary, which is the 20th anniversary of the World Conference on Women, which was held in 1995. In Beijing, there were more than 17,000 participants, and they created a plan for action, which has 12 areas of concern. I'm not really going to touch on them, but definitely look them up. They're super interesting. I'll include a link for the UN 20th anniversary summary. I learned a lot of information, just all this research, so definitely look into it. And basically, this platform of action was an agenda for women's empowerment, and it's been a key global policy document on gender equality. So we can thank it for a lot of advancements in women's rights and women's equality internationally. So why women are important, the platform of action is a very good example that women are able to create movements, and they are able to start these platforms that not necessarily would get done, but they do it and they push through, and the Beijing platform for action has been successful, and it has developed in these past 20 years, and women are making gains internationally in politics and other subjects as well. So to continue on with that, they bring something different to the table, and women bring different views to different policies, different issues. Lawless and Fox in one of our books state that women who replace men in the same district are more likely to focus on women's issues such as gender equality, daycare, flex time, abortion, minimum wage increases, and the extension of the food stamp program. All these issues are considered women's issues because men don't focus as much on them, but these issues do need focus. They sometimes need policies passed, and women have that power, and they are very good at focusing on these things that are often overlooked. So they do bring something different to the table in politics, and they represent 50% of the world. So they are very important in politics. They're very, very special, and we need them. To continue on as to how we can get women in power, one main kind of method that we learned about in class were gender quotas, and we learned that they do work. I found a book called Women in Parliament Beyond Numbers. I'll include that link also in here. And basically kind of chapter 4 focuses on these quotas, but they define quotas as a certain percentage or amount of women that have to be in a parliament or committee or government or candidate list. Kind of, they all vary, but basically it's just an amount of women that need to be in there. And this book also states that they have seen a gradual increase in women's representation in countries like Argentina, Costa Rica, South Africa, and Rwanda. But they also focus on some cons. And as I looked into it more, I realized there are actually quite a few cons to this quota system, such that they're undemocratic, and voters should be able to decide who is elected instead of forcing these women into politics. And this creates voters to be resentful of these women because they might not necessarily be qualified, but because of the quotas, they are supposed to be there and they have to get elected. So instead, I found a wonderful book called Female Political Career, and in that, they discussed a different method in getting women involved, and that's saying just mentoring them and getting them prepared And they state that sharing networks and offering guidance have the advantage over quotas and other kinds of affirmative action, that they level the playing field without giving women any perceived unfair advantages that can cause backlash against women. And they have a major point in that with getting these women mentored and involved and more women prepared to run for office, then the voters will see them as qualified and want to vote for them, instead of seeing them as and resenting them because they have to vote for them. So I do believe that this kind of mentoring, this pushing women to run is it's a much better approach than the enforcing gender quotas. So finally, I'm going to touch on an issue that is still exists, and that is the gender pay gap. So Joanne Littman wrote an interesting article in the New York Times stating that female doctors and surgeons, for example, earn 71% of what their male colleagues make, which shows that even when they're specialized, even when they have the same training, females still make less, which is absurd and it doesn't make much sense. So they need to focus on that, and something needs to be done about that. We're not all there yet. We're getting closer, but there are still issues such as the pay gap that exists and need to be taken care of. So finally, I'm going to include some links at the bottom, really interesting articles on the UN Progress, the Beijing 20th anniversary platform, and it's just to follow their updates and learn about it. I recommend everyone does it because, once again, very interesting, and I did learn a lot. So thank you.